Welcome to Time to Teach with Tammy, the podcast that gives tips, advice, and suggestions to teachers by a real teacher. So sit back and enjoy. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. And we're back. Welcome to episode 50. Today's episode is entitled, What I Eat to Feel Great. Now, I know you might be thinking, Tammy, what in the world does this have to do with teaching? This is an education podcast. You typically talk to us about education matters, and this is so very true. But today, I have discussed in the past different wellness strategies and things that I do to feel good, and definitely what I eat to feel good is part of that. So that's what today is devoted to. Now, if you're not interested in what I'm eating, and I'm going to guess most of the world is not interested, that is fine. Feel free to skip this episode. But I really did want to share this because I have a very kind of specific way that I eat. And I do want to preface this by saying I am no way really qualified to give any type of medical information, nutrition information. I'm just sharing what I eat. This is not meant to be taken as a recommendation of what you should be eating. And of course, I think anytime you're changing your diet or your exercise, always consult your doctor. Don't go just based off what somebody online said, something you heard. We obviously want to educate ourselves and investigate things for ourselves, but I do want to share because I do feel much better than I have felt in many, many years. So that's what today's episode is dedicated to. So yeah, we'll be starting that in a minute. Before we begin our wins and fails, I want to give a shout out to Julia Osei. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. But I'm sorry if I am butchering your last name. But a big shout out to Julia because she left me a comment actually on my blog, Notes in First Grade. .blogspot.mx. But yeah, I really thank you so much, Julia, for your message. Julia told me how she also is experiencing the same ocular migraines that I experience, and that it turned out for her, she had been on a medication, and it was actually the medication. Her doctor was able to switch the medications, and she hasn't experienced that since. So I really appreciated the fact that you shared that with me. That was really nice of you. Yeah, I just thought that was really neat. Someone who listened to my episode. I don't remember which episode I had mentioned that on. I probably have mentioned it a few times, but it was nice that someone out in the world wanted to share their story with me, and I really appreciate that and appreciate your time. So Julia Osei, thank you so much. And yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm not on medication, or at least not anything different that I think could have caused this. I don't know. It's weird because I want to say my first, maybe the first time that I experienced this, it's been at least a couple of years. And I don't know if at that time something changed, and definitely not my medication, but possibly my eating. I don't know, because I've been changing my eating over years, but I I don't recall anything major changing then. So, I probably should at some point go see a doctor about this. My husband has told me I should. I just have not done that just because I really dislike dealing with doctors. So I don't know, but I really probably should. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't think, first I was thinking to go see an eye doctor, but I know it's not my eyes. It's really neurological, but I don't know. I don't experience it too often, which is good, but I do experience it often enough that, having some answers would be really good. But anyway, thank you so much, Julia. That was great. I really enjoyed getting your message, and I did respond, so I don't know if you saw that, but I responded to your comment, so it's there, and I guess it's attached to episode 2. Episode 2, mindfulness and exercise. That's what it was. It's attached to that actual post in my blog. I don't know if that's what you had listened to, but that's what it was attached to. So you can find it there. Thanks so much. Okay, moving on to wins and fails. I feel like you guys I have a lot of wins this week. So I don't know. I guess I just share all of them or some of them. One of my big wins is that last week, it's been pretty much almost exactly a week, this little kitty showed up at my window, my bedroom window, and I brought her inside. I was, kind of worried about her because I don't know how it would be very easy for her to have wandered into our front yard, but I just don't know where she came from. If she had somewhere to go, I don't know. But I brought her in to kind of feed her, take care of her. And I didn't know what exactly we would do with her. And it didn't seem like anyone really knew where she came from. So I don't know. There are a lot of stray animals around. So that's kind of my guess that she was just from a stray mama and found her way over here. Anyway, my husband is not really a cat person, so I didn't know what we would do, but he also wasn't really home at the time that I brought her in, although I sent him pictures to show him what was going on. So anyway, later he came home and I just asked, can we go and get a few things for her? And we did. And then I trained her to go into the litter box, which I think would have been his biggest concern, is bathroom issues. He's never had a cat. So I've never really had a cat either because my parents were not cat people. So we could not have cats when I was a child. And, so neither of us really know much about taking care of a cat. Anyway, litter box trained her, and then she's great. I've had her in the house for a week now, and my husband is getting along with her really well. So this is a win for me. This is not an educational win. This is a personal win. And just if you know my husband, even though he is such an animal person and he loves dogs, but he loves animals. But he's not really into cats in terms of having his own cat, but he's been playing with the cat. This is a huge win because I never in a million years would have suspected that we would ever be cat owners. So that was so great. In fact, she's in here right now playing around, and her name is Pepper. So that was great. That was definitely a win. My other win is for the last several weeks, some of us teachers have been practicing a surprise dance for Children's Day. If I've mentioned this before, Children's Day is a thing in Mexico. So when we celebrate Children's Day, we don't do it on the actual day. It's always on the Friday. But we always open up Children's Day with a talent show that the kids will sign up for and do different various things. And then one of our teachers, the technology teacher, The last several years she's been putting on organizing a teacher stands, and this is my first year signing up for that and participating. My first year here at this school, actually, what's funny is she and I came down to Mexico the same exact year in 2009, and we started at another school. So I've known her since 2009, and she did actually put together a dance at that school, and I did, well, actually, she wasn't in charge of it, that was somebody else. But it seems like she was very instrumental in coordinating the practices and helping with that, it seems. Anyway, I participated in that one in 2009 and then this one in 2018 at our current school. So it was fun. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really exciting and it was nice to participate. She always does such a great job with the dances that every year I just kind of watch the dances and think I should do that. And then so this year I did. So that was a definite win as well. I was so excited to finally participate in that. So yeah, that's what I did. And I think I will leave the wins at that. Fails for the week, not any major fails. I've just been so tired, so extremely tired this weekend because I'm recording on a Sunday. This is 2 weeks in a row that I'm recording super early on Sundays. I've been so tired that I've slept in. Usually I do not sleep in. I'm up before 8, typically by 7, sometimes even as early as like 5 o'clock in the morning. These last 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, I've slept in until about 9 o'clock. That is not heard of for me. That is kind of crazy. But I've been feeling super tired, and I don't know if that's because of the heat. I've mentioned before, springtime here is very hot for us. It's been, I don't know, probably like 95. So just very, very warm. And so I'm wondering that could possibly have a lot to do with what, just the exhaustion that I've been feeling. Friday didn't help because Children's Day, even though it's a half day, it's so exhausting because it's go for that whole half day. We're just doing different activities with the kids, and they're super excited. So whenever you're managing something like that, it just, even though it's a short day, you feel so exhausted afterwards. So that also could have contributed to it. I'm not really sure. I've just been very tired. I do know that. Okay, well, we are almost 13 minutes in. That might have changed by the time I edited, but I think we should get started with today's topic. Okay, what I eat to feel great. Again, this is not directly related to teaching, but the reason why I'm including it is because it is very indirectly related to my teaching. Obviously, with the kinds of food that I eat, the reasons why I eat it is to help me be as healthy as I can, to feel as good as I can, and that affects me in my teaching. I feel like I'm a better teacher because of my eating habits, but then I'm also probably a better wife and a better mother and just a better person in general because I do things to intentionally feel good, my diet included. Again, I want to say before I dig into this, I'm not qualified to give any kind of information or suggestions on what anyone should be eating. I'm just sharing what I eat, and I do think that if you're planning on changing anything in your diet or your exercise, the best advice I can say is consult your doctor first. That's probably the smartest thing to do. And also, I'm not sharing this to say you should eat the way that I eat. Absolutely not. Even when I say I eat healthy, it's so we all have just these varying ideas of what health is, and certainly the way I eat, some of you may say that's not healthy. What are you talking about? Some people believe in eating a vegetarian lifestyle. Some people don't. Some people believe in low fat, and that's healthy. So there are, when you say healthy, it's really difficult because what do you define as healthy? So I'm not saying anyone else should eat this way. I'm just going to share today what I do and what I eat. And yes, this makes me feel good. So let's get started with that. Many years ago, I just started to notice that I wasn't feeling all that well. Now, I never went to see a doctor. I've explained before, I'm not really good at going and seeing doctors. I just don't like to deal with doctors. I just try to stay away unless I really need to. So I never went to go see a doctor, but I was really tired. I was coming home and sleeping for 2 hours every single day after school. And although that felt fantastic, it also made me feel like I don't really want to just sleep my whole life away. Now, granted, I have a ridiculously early bedtime, so someone could make the argument that I just swapped out that 2-hour nap for my early bedtime. So what's the difference? And yeah, there probably is an argument to be made. But let's say I go to bed at 8:30 and I do get up at 4:30 in the morning. So I'm kind of trying to make sure I get my 8 hours of sleep. And I actually think I feel better with 9 hours. So with that, I'm not even quite getting all the hours of sleep that I need. But anyway, I just kind of decided that, I did not like my sleeping habits. So I began to work on that. But really, during the same time, I just noticed that I seemed to have digestive issues without going into too many details. But some foods just didn't make me feel very good. And it just, just made it kind of uncomfortable at times. And so one summer I decided, well, I'm really going to investigate and kind of I wasn't really logging, but I was just being very conscious of what did I just eat prior to these issues. And it turned out it was pastas, a lot of pastas. And I didn't imagine that would be an issue. But it was. I was having issues and just not feeling quite well after eating pasta. And let me tell you, I lived off of pasta for years. Now, I'm not saying that I have issues with gluten or anything. I've never been tested. I don't know what I do or do not have. I just know that, I know there are some people who are saying that's not a thing, and that's fine. I'm not trying to debate that. I just know in my own life, that's what I discovered that I was having issues with. And believe me, that was much to my great disappointment because I love pasta. I mean, I could eat it every day, and there were sometimes that I probably did have it several days in a row, just whatever, spaghetti, macaroni, whatever different kind of pasta dishes. I was all about that, especially since being someone who, in the 90s, it was all about low fat. So, what did we eat? We ate a lot of carbs back then. And that's what I lived off, just a lot of processed foods, which are very carby. And yeah, so I just kind of discovered that my particular issue was happening when I would have spaghetti or any kind of pastas. And I was so disappointed because I did not want to have to give up that kind of food. But I was also just very frustrated at that point with having just not feeling well in general. Not that I felt horrible, but I just wasn't, I was just very exhausted all the time. And then again, like I said, after I would eat pastas, I would just feel not good, just very unwell. So when I discovered that summer, then I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to maybe minimize my pasta intake. I don't think I was actually going to just give it up completely, but I wanted to minimize it. But what happened is I ended up just kind of giving it up. And then just, a lot of my issues seemed to decrease dramatically. So that was already a win because I was feeling so much better. And then I think once that kind of got rolling, I started to look at other things that I can do to feel even better. And so again, like I said, I was working on the sleep. I don't know that I was quite at my 8:30 bedtime, but I had given up my naps, and I definitely was, going to bed, not probably early initially, but, probably fairly early, about 10 o'clock, which for me is kind of late right now. But I was still, since I gave up the napping, I don't think I could last too long without going to bed. So fairly early. So that was happening. And then I thought, well, what else can I do to really get myself into a position where I'm feeling much better? So obviously exercise. So I did that. And then I started looking at my diet and, okay, like what other things can I do? And I just kind of saw that so much of what I was eating was just really processed foods and unhealthy foods. And I started listening. Actually, this is how I got hooked on podcasts. Was my friend, my very good friend, told me about this podcast that I can't think of the name right now. They don't keep it going. They've finished it, but it's was something about, I don't know, but it was about fat loss. And so I started to listen to that, and then other healthy or podcasts about health and fitness. And I just started to slowly kind of eliminate or minimize some of the processed foods that I eat, and just decided, okay, I really need to focus on just like real whole foods, just foods that come in its natural state of being, and just eat more of those kind of foods. So I was exercising, and I started to do that, and I lost weight. I lost a lot of weight. I mean, okay, I wasn't like super heavy, but I definitely had extra weight to lose. I think altogether somewhere over 30 pounds is what I've ended up losing, just with all of these changes that I made. So my focus was, okay, just go away from processed foods. And then from there, I kind of got into low carb food, but low carb and high fat. So this is called a ketogenic diet, and that's what I currently eat. So it's really counterintuitive because, when we think, you're eating a lot of fat, well, then you're going to get fat. But it doesn't actually work that way, because our body either can burn carbohydrates, which I think is what most people, unless you're being very specific, most people are burning carbs. Or if you keep your carb intake very low and you increase the fats, your body then burns ketones. And I don't really test to see that I'm burning ketones. I just kind of have to go off of, what I'm eating and tracking that way. But it seems to be working. I mean, I've been able, like I said, I'd already been losing weight because just of the good healthy changes I was making. But this was like the next step. And so that's what I currently do. And it's something that I like. And I like it because I feel it's a very sustaining way of life. Now, I think there are some people who have tried the ketogenic way of life and they're like, no, this is not for me. It's not sustainable. But I think it can be, because I've been doing this now. I don't know. I'll have to ask my friend. She has a better memory than me. At least a year, could be a year and a half. I don't know, possibly two. I can't recall now how long I've been doing keto. But so I keep my carbs pretty low. When I first started going keto, I was still trying to lose a few more pounds because I actually met my weight loss goal, and I wanted to go a little bit further because I thought, oh, I feel like I could still, and I did. And so I was keeping my carbs probably somewhere about 20 grams a day, and then fat 90-ish grams a day, sometimes higher. And then in a ketogenic diet, your protein is like moderate. So for me, it's about like 70 grams of protein a day. And the way I track all of this is in using an app called My Fitness Pal. So I just log in my food. And again, some people might say, gosh, that's so tedious. And well, I guess it can be tedious, and it's probably not meant to be long term. Once you get the hang of any kind of lifestyle eating, I don't think you really have to track. I'm just one of those people who I just like to do it. So I think I'm on I think my streak is like 1,090 days. I don't know. Let me go check that out. But I've been doing it for a ridiculously long amount of time. But I feel like for most people, you just use it to get a hang. Oh yeah, 1,117 day streak is what I'm up to. So yeah, that's what I have. So I've been doing it for a long time. Definitely at this point, I don't think I need to track, but I just like to do that. But yeah, so you just kind of track it at least initially as you're getting started to kind of get the feel of what kind of foods and how much. And I had also initially bought like a kitchen scale so I can weigh my food because you really, I think, underestimate the amount of food you consume. And I found that especially in the beginning when I wasn't doing keto and I was still consuming some processed foods like rice, and I would go to weigh it and find out that, oh my gosh, like this, you barely get to eat any, or pasta. Same thing. What you think is a serving, it's so much less than an actual serving. So you end up really over consuming these foods that you shouldn't be. So it was kind of nice to use the scale. I really haven't had to use that in a while, just because, well, now I don't eat rice or pasta. Like once in a while, I may have a bite because I'll sometimes make that for my family. They're not keto. But yeah, so having the scale is really, really nice. So, what are some of the things that I eat on keto? So basically, I end up eating a lot of the same foods. The morning is always the same. Now, I used to kind of do like intermittent fasting where I just really wouldn't eat. And not because I'm starving myself, you guys, when you go keto, it's kind of crazy how you don't get the same kind of hunger as you do when you're a carb burner. And if you start to, I recommend if anyone's interested in learning more about that kind of way of eating, you'll hear people say it. Now, it doesn't mean that you're never going to get hungry. It doesn't mean that you're never going to see someone eating something and start feeling like you would like to eat it. But you don't have the same kind of hunger that you would when you're a carb burner. Also because I feel like when you're eating so many carbs, it's not as, I don't know, it's just not as nutritious, or I don't know. I don't know. I can't really explain it, but I know it when I see it. Just kidding. That's from Reality Bites. If you don't know, now you know. Anywho, so yeah, you just don't get as hungry, so you can go a lot longer, but also because you're really fueled up on these healthy fats. Okay, so we're not talking about hydrogenated oils and things like that. No, talking about healthy fats. So the kinds of fats that you would want to eat if you're doing a high fat diet like I am is coconut oil, real butter, olive oils, anything like that. Nothing that is hydrogenated, oils that just are just really bad for you. No, we want real fat. Just think about real quality fats. That's what you would eat on this kind of diet. So my breakfast, I have a coffee that I put about a tablespoon of coconut oil into, and then some butter, and then I blend it and it gets very frothy. And that's what I have in the morning. I used to not have anything else, but recently I do because my husband makes my daughter and I breakfast, so I've been having that. So typically he'll also make me like 2 scrambled eggs, sometimes some sausage to go with it. So I'll have that with my coffee, and I am going all morning. I am good. For the longest time, I did not eat again until about when I came home and made dinner, because I just didn't get hungry. I would have maybe some like sunflower seeds or, something light like that in between. Oh, salami. I'll eat a lot of like having salami as a little snack. So salami, maybe sliced avocado. So that might be a snack, and then my dinner at home. Lately, I've been really trying to up my fat because I notice I haven't been very good at intentionally adding fat, because when you're doing high fat, you need to add the butter on stuff. You need to make sure you're getting enough fat so that your body's burning ketones. So I just kind of been looking in my Fitness Pal and seeing that, gee, I don't think my fat is really getting as high as it could be or should be. And since I don't have a way right now of testing that I'm actually burning ketones, so I don't know if I'm actually in ketosis or not, I need to up my fat intake. So now what I've been doing the last week, I almost said the last couple of weeks, it's only been a week, is also bringing a big bowl of salad, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil is basically my dressing, and everything is seasoned really well. Himalayan pink salt, which is my favorite. Pepper. I have some Italian seasoning. What else do I put in there? Some Parmesan cheese. Sometimes I'll put some chopped up salami on there, and it's just very delicious. So I've been doing that for my lunch now for the last week. Like I said, prior to this, I was really going without really eating midday, just like little snacks, some salami and stuff like that, and sunflower seeds, but that was it. And then come home, and then for a nice keto dinner, I almost exclusively live off of things like zucchini lasagna. So I'll just slice up zucchini and do maybe some ground beef or ground pork. Lately, I've really been into ground pork. And then there is a tomato sauce, because tomato sauce, tomatoes, a lot of fruits have a lot of just fructose, just the natural fruit sugars that they just automatically have. So a person like me who eats this way, we eat very little fruit. Berries are good, like strawberries and blueberries and things like that. So you can do some kind of berries, but most fruit is a no-no on this kind of way of eating. But yeah, so tomato sauces are going to be a little bit higher in carbs, but if you can fit it into your macros, if you're someone like me who says I am like right now keeping my carbs at 20 to 25 grams a day, well, if you can fit it in, then, by all means, it's certainly a better option than something else. But anyway, there's a tomato sauce that I can get at Walmart that does not have any added sugars, because if you go to buy a tomato sauce or like a spaghetti sauce or really anything that comes in a can, look at the carbohydrate count. There's so much extra sugar. It's disgusting. So I will go for this. I don't know what the brand is. I should probably take a look at that. But I have taken a look at it, but for purposes of this episode. Anyway, it's just there's no added sugar. So that's fantastic. So I use that for my sauce, and I just, season it, and so kind of layer that with the ground beef, the sauce, some cheese, And you can add some more vegetables, but I don't, because I'm getting, you guys, it's zucchini. So instead of having my lasagna noodles, it's zucchini noodles. So it's packed. I mean, the whole thing is a vegetable dish. And I bake it, and my daughter loves it. My husband is not, I mean, he'll eat it, but he's not like quite the vegetable fan that I am, or just like dishes like this. He's gotten a lot better at it, but my daughter and I love this. It's so good. So I eat this a lot. I'll make a pan of this, and we have it. It lasts a good 2 to 3 days in our house. So that's what I eat a lot for dinner. And then, of course, as you're eating it, you can pile on more butter, which is what I do to get my fat intake up. And then something else that I like to do. Now, I know it seems like, what am I going to eat on a diet like this, or what can you possibly eat? But really, if you just eliminate, instead of using breads and tortillas, which I'm in Mexico, so we love our tortillas here, I just use lettuce. It's just an awesome way to eat similar foods, but without the carbs. So I'll, like, might make up some tacos, and then I can use a leaf of lettuce to actually hold it. So I do that a lot, and my daughter loves that. Like I said, my husband will do that, but I can't say that that's his favorite. I mean, he's a really good sport, but I think, if we have tortillas in the house, then he'll prefer that to the lettuce leaf. But my daughter, last week we had that a couple nights, because I just had so much ground pork. It was a ground pork that I just we had tacos, so in the lettuce leaf, and my daughter she loved it. So we had that a couple of nights because we had leftovers. So that I do a lot, and then you can do that with like a tuna salad and put it inside the leaf. And of course, what I typically do is I will drizzle olive oil over it, especially if I need to increase my fats. So I do that. And then also with like the tuna salad, you can do a similar thing. Instead of putting it in a lettuce leaf, chop up cucumbers and use the cucumber slices. Just, put the tuna salad on top, or I've done that also with chicken salad. So tostadas are a big thing here. So that's what I'll do if I'm making some kind of salad, and the rest of the family can have it on tostadas, and I'll just do it on top of my cucumbers or inside the lettuce leaf. It's really very easy, I find, at this point, to incorporate things like that. And then also the veggie pastas. I don't have a spiralizer. I almost bought one yesterday. They just opened up a Bed Bath and Beyond, which I had no idea. I was just going to the papeleria. In English, I'm not sure what that's called. It's like a store that you go to if you need to get like office supplies, I guess, like papers and whatever, things like that. And my daughter needed some paper for her project that she's working on at school. So we went there, and then I saw a big sign that Bed Bath and Beyond was opened. So I thought, ooh, that's exciting. So I went in, and I saw they had a spiralizer. They had one for 800 pesos, and I just didn't feel like paying that money right now. And then they had a hand spiralizer, which was pretty good price, but it was, it was just under 400 pesos, so much better. But again, I was just like, I don't know, because lately what I've been doing when I make veggie pasta is I just slice it with a knife, because I have so many gadgets for slicing and stuff. I just thought, I don't know, do I really want to invest in one more gadget? I don't know. And anyway, so we ended up buying a new little frying pan for eggs, because we cook so many eggs. Actually, my husband is the one who ends up cooking the eggs in the morning, but it's just kind of, yeah, so we bought that. Anyway, so that's something else that I like to do, is just chop up or kind of grate pasta, and you can make like a faux veggie pasta with a sauce. So I'll do things like that. But really, I found that it's really not hard to eat on a keto diet. Some people will say, like it gets hard, but I think you just have to figure out different ways to do things. So, I do eat a lot of the same foods, but also just because, routines, in the morning that's fast and easy for my husband just to make us the eggs. Sometimes he'll vary it up and make my daughter like a muffin, like a sourdough muffin, and put the eggs and sausage in there. And I won't have it that way. He'll just make me my regular thing, but that's just fast and easy. So of course I end up eating that. And then, and then of course for the lunch, salad, that's easy. Another thing that I've really been liking lately that I have made, and my daughter loves this, is I will do like cut up some chicken breast, but almost like fajita sizes. I don't know what I'm trying to say. And then I cook it up, and then I'll cook it in, finish it off in like the same tomato sauce that I talked about that I do my zucchini lasagna. And so I'll just, kind of cook it up for a few minutes and then finish it off in the sauce, season the sauce, and then put some cheese on top. And then what I do is I top that for my husband and my daughter. I top that over some rice. And then usually I'll have like a side. I always like to have a side of vegetables. So it might be, sometimes I do sweet potato fries, which is not very keto because it's high in carbs. So I myself would only be able to eat a little bit of that. But I do still sometimes like that. Or I'll do slice up zucchini and then bake that. You just drizzle it with some olive oil, which technically you're really not supposed to heat up olive oil, so that's probably not the best, but I do. And then I top it with Parmesan and I bake it, and it's delish. So we will eat that. And yeah, have that as a side with the chicken and tomato sauce with cheese over rice for them, just as it is for me. And then a side of vegetables. I also will do cut up, well, not cut up, but like chopped up, I cannot think of the English word, betabel. What is that in English? It's let me look it up. I don't know why I cannot. A beet. So kind of chop up the beet. Well, I usually like do quarters, and then half those quarters, and then drizzle. So kind of like roasting it, I guess. Drizzle it in olive oil, and then season it, and then just kind of roast it. That's really good. I like that. My whole family likes that as a side. And then something I've been making the last couple of weeks, another thing my daughter loves, is faux macaroni and cheese with cauliflower. Cauliflower, you guys, if you're low carb, is such a great hack because you can do so many different things with it. But basically, I will chop it down. You can process it. I just usually chop it down, but I do have a food processor as well that comes in very handy. So I chop it in little bite sizes, just thinking about if you're making macaroni, the size of what macaroni pasta would be. And so I chop that, and then I will cook it in butter and or something else, bacon and the bacon grease, and it gets really good. I just let it get kind of soft but not too soft. And then I make up a cheese sauce with a little bit of heavy cream, which is something that people who eat the way I do will use, like heavy cream even in their coffee sometimes. So I'll add a little bit of that and butter and some cheese. Also a tip, it's better to buy the block cheese if you're doing low carb, because the pre-shredded ones usually have some fillers and they're going to be a little more heavy on the carbs. So yeah, I do that and then just kind of like melt it all together. And then I put the cauliflower pieces with the cheese sauce inside the oven and I bake it. Oh, it's delicious, you guys. It's so good. It is so good. So I've been making that a lot lately, just really a lot. Um, and yeah, some other things that I'll eat with the cauliflower is if I want to make like a creamy white sauce, I can include that. You just kind of like cook it and then blend it all with cheese. And again, almost the same way that you do the on stove cheese sauce. Then I will grate some cheese, add that in there, some heavy cream. And then, so if I'm making something, if I want to make like a faux veggie pasta with Alfredo, that can be my Alfredo sauce. Um, if I want to do like faux mashed potatoes, you can pretty much do the same thing. Use the cauliflower. There are so many great different ways to use cauliflower for when you're doing low carb. I mean, it's just so good for you and just so many different things. But that's a lot. I mean, that's like basically what I eat. I eat a lot of those things. What I try to do is buy what's in season because you do want to um, vary what you eat. It's just healthier for you. So what I'll do is I'll just buy whatever vegetables are in season. Oh, I do buy a lot of rajas, which are what is that? I guess they're sliced like poblanos. I don't know if you can make rajas out of other peppers. I think I've typically seen it out of poblanos and then add a little bit of cream and cheese and have rajas con crema. That's really good. Oh, and like chili rellenos are really good too because they're you can like the egg batter. I just can will if I actually do a batter, I just beat the eggs and dip it in there. I don't even add the flour, but and then kind of like fry that with cheese in it, sounding really good. And I have some poblanos. I might actually make that today. So I'll eat a lot of that. But yeah, just like buying what's in season. When I see pumpkin flowers, I'll actually buy the pumpkin flowers, and that's kind of good if you want to like fry up. There used to be a place when I was actually still eating tacos, a place where we could get tacos, and one of their tacos they had was the flor de calabaza or the pumpkin flower, and they will sell that when it's that time here in the city. So I'll buy that and I've cooked that up. It's nice. You just kind of like fry it and you can have it in a taco. You can have it as a side. I mean, do whatever you want with it. But I'm just like, when I see something, I just kind of want to experiment and see how I can use it. I'm not like a great cook. I'm just a regular, cook. I'm just a regular person who cooks because I have to eat because I heard I would die otherwise. But yeah, and then like for example, today for breakfast, my husband made breakfast. He made eggs with machaca. That's like a dried beef thing. I don't know what that word is in English, or maybe it's just the same word because I don't know. So I had that, and then he fried up some bacon. That's like a perfect keto breakfast for me. And I forced myself to eat during lunchtime just because yesterday I didn't really get enough fat. So I thought today I really wanted to make sure I was being intentional on my fat. So I had a salad, just a regular green leaf salad, but I added a can of tuna to get some protein, and then tablespoon of olive oil, about maybe a teaspoon, no, maybe about a tablespoon, I would say, of mayonnaise, so it could be kind of creamy, and then well seasoned. And then that was my lunch. And then, yeah, I really am probably not going to need to eat dinner. But I might actually make something just so I have it for tomorrow for Monday, because sometimes I like to do that. And then the last thing I'll say is sometimes I've been doing this recently as I've been trying to be more intentional on my fat. Sometimes it is hard. You just got to remember to add the butter, add the olive oil, like really be intentional on getting your fat intake when you're eating the way I do. And sometimes it's hard, so I've been making fat bombs. So this is going to sound disgusting. So these fat bombs that I make is I just mix in some coconut oil and then some cocoa powder, like the straight, like not sugar added. And then I've been adding sometimes some heavy whipping cream and a little bit of liquid stevia. And then sometimes all of that, but without the heavy cream, just depends. And then I have these molds that I just put it into and I freeze it. And then if I just notice that, okay, I have not gotten my fat quite up to where I need it, I can eat 1 or 2 of those and get my fat up. I know it sounds disgusting. It's like pure fat, but that's what you do when you do keto. So, yeah, and I feel really good, you guys. I have higher energy. I'm not a high energy person, but I have so much more energy than I've had before. And definitely on the days where I make sure that I'm getting my fat up there, I can feel pretty energetic. And this helps me because I am teaching my kids. My students now are about 6. Some of them are 7 now. Then they are high energy and they are high needs, lots of emotions, lots of just very, very needy. So it is draining on me. And I've just find that since I've been eating this way, and like I said, I don't know, it's been like a year, maybe a couple of years, something like that, I feel good. So that's why I've been sticking to keto. I'm not saying that I'll always do keto. I don't know what the future holds. I mean, a long time ago, if you would have asked me if I would ever be moving away from the United States, I would have probably laughed. But things happen in our life and we just don't always foresee these changes that we're going to make. So I may not, I don't know that I'll do keto forever, but for now I really like it. I think what I will do forever is make sure that I concentrate the majority of my foods on real whole foods because I just know it makes me feel so good. Now, I do want to say I will make days where I will have something that is not really allowed on this kind of lifestyle. And I do that so that I can make this an actual lifestyle because I feel like for me, if I never give myself maybe what would be considered a cheat day, well, I don't do a full cheat day, but I might do a cheat meal, then for me it might be a little more challenging to eat this way forever, or at least for long term. So, like just the other week, we had pizza for dinner, and I had 2 slices of pizza. That was my dinner. And usually, what I'll do is I'll just kind of try to plan for it. Once in a while, we'll have it where it's not planned, but it seems to fit in. But typically, I'll just like plan to have something like that so that I just still can enjoy some of those kind of foods once in a while. And it's never caused me any issues. It does, like I haven't gained weight on it. And I'll do the same thing with like fruits. I'll have a day where I'm like, you know what? I really want to have this orange. So I'm going to have an orange because this kind of lifestyle, it's very low on carbs. So it can limit some of those choices. But I have found that I can do that without getting myself in serious trouble long term. So, yeah, so that's another important thing. Well, you guys, this got a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I did want to share what I eat because, yes, this affects me indirectly as a teacher because how I feel affects my teaching. If I feel good, I am a better teacher for it. So, I've included different things about wellness on the podcast, so I did want to address that, especially since lately I've been very intentional about increasing my fats. It's just been very present in my mind. I thought, gee, this might be a good topic to include. So yeah, that's it. And again, I'm not saying anyone should eat this way. I'm not telling anyone this is the way you eat. I think everybody needs to find what works for them, what makes them feel good, consult your doctor, find out your own particular needs. I'm not here to judge anybody's lifestyle. I just know this works for me, and it's probably not going to work for everyone. I definitely don't want to advocate something that I don't know that this would work for everyone, but it works for me and I feel good, and I'm glad that I got to share it. But that's it, you guys. We're going to go ahead and close this thing down. It's been a long episode. I want to say thank you so much for joining, and as always, I'd love to hear from you. Tweet to me, leave me a comment on my blog like Julia did. That was such a nice surprise. But yeah, I'm interested. Do you have a special way that you eat that helps you to feel really good, which in return helps you to be the best teacher? I'd love to hear about it. Go ahead and tweet to me. You can find me on Twitter at TamiJ123. That's TamiJ123. We'll see you next time.
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Before you go, don't forget you can catch our show notes online at www.timetoteach.libsyn. That's libsyn.com. We're also on Facebook at Time to Teach. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, Teachers for Effective Curriculum. And if you're an educator with your own podcast show, I invite you to join our brand new Facebook group, Teachers Who Podcast. Let's grow a community where we can network, problem solve, and discuss anything and everything podcast related. I'll see you there.